Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a really cool pistol. I think this is my favorite variant of my favorite Sig pistol. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sig P226 Mk25. And this is the gun of the Navy SEALs. Now, it may not be the gun of the Navy SEALs anymore. Some people say they have officially replaced it with the Glock 19, but the Navy SEALs are allowed to carry any firearm that they want. And for a long time, this was their standard issue. And it all goes back to when Beretta was chosen to create the M9 for the Army and to build them. And they won the contract because it was down to two pistols. Two pistols got to that final round in the 1980s. The Beretta and the Sig Sauer P226. And the Beretta won out because of cost. They came in at a lower price point, but the Navy SEALs really liked the SIGs. So I think to kind of thumb their noses at the Army and the selection of the M9, they're like, well, we're going to adopt the P226 anyway. And of course, they got a special contract. And these aren't just normal P226s that are off the shelf. They had very special requirements, such as certain coatings for saltwater corrosion resistance and things like a chrome lined barrel, just to name a few. And of course, Sig, wanting to capitalize this, marketed this particular version to civilians. They're like, hey, you can have the same gun the Navy SEALs carry. And that's what they came out with. In fact, the first time I ever heard about this pistol was a long time ago when I was watching Hickok 45. And I remember him reviewing one of these. And I thought this pistol was so cool, and I've wanted one ever since. So it's a real treat to get the chance to shoot one here at the Texas Gun Vault and to see what this pistol is all about. But before we get into the things that I like and don't like about this gun, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this really cool pistol, and he's lent many guns in the past to the channel. His name is Jack. In fact, I have two people that lend guns to the channel named Jack, but this is Jack number one, the OG Jack, the original Jack. So thank you so much, Jack, for letting me shoot the guns of your collection. As always, I want to thank my Patreon supporters, because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here, and I couldn't do all of this without them. And if you guys want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month and get to see all of these videos early, there will be a link in the description below. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor, who always provides all of the ammunition for these range reports, thus making them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And if you're watching this video on this Sig P226 Mk25, I know you like guns with military heritage. You probably love Colt 1911s, Beretta 92s, CZ75s, or Browning High Powers, just to name a few. And in your collection, you have special guns that you would love to make unique and one of a kind, especially to outfit them with a fine set of wood grips. Well, I have the perfect grip company for you, Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark is an artist, and I'm always talking about the new and innovative products he's coming out with. Besides grips, he also makes pistol stands and wood grips for modern sporting rifles. He can make his own laminate woods. He can apply custom logos, custom engravings, and custom textures, as well as finish these grips in a wide variety of colors, and even apply exotic materials like snakeskin and alligator skin to make your grips one of a kind and unique. Each set of grips is made to order to your specifications. So I'm going to ask you guys to go over to his website and see everything he has to offer. I'm going to put a link to his website and a discount code for 10% off your first order in the comment section below. So please go check out his website, and when you place that order for custom grips, please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. Alright, so once again, let's talk about the gun that we are going to be reviewing and taking to the range. The Sig P226 Mk25, the Sig of the Navy SEALs. And you can even see Sig has put on a little anchor on the side denoting it as the Mk25. They also put a little inventory tag on it, and this is actually a little bit different than the one that the Navy uses, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this range report. And it does not, if you scan it, go to like the Navy inventory or give you much information on this pistol. It's more for cosmetic purposes, but I think it is kind of a cool little designation and thing that they put on the gun to give it that nice Navy touch. Now, as I mentioned in the opening of this video, this is not just a standard P226. It has some special coatings because, of course, the Navy SEALs deal in hostile environments such as salt water. So they were looking for a gun that is going to resist corrosion. So all of the internal parts have a special coating on them, and the barrel is chrome lined. The slide is even made of stainless steel, even though it is nitrided. So this gun is supposed to be pretty darn corrosion resistant and function well in hostile environments. It should be noted going into this review that the owner of this pistol, Jack, has changed only one thing on this gun, and I actually think it's a great upgrade, and that is he has installed the SRT trigger, or the short reset trigger, and it is a factory SIG part. In fact, they put this trigger in many of their other guns. The Mark 25 does not come with it, but it is a factory SIG part, and as far as I'm concerned, because it is an OEM part from the manufacturer, the gun still is pretty much stock. So I'm going to review it as a stock SIG P226 because this is a very common and standard upgrade that everybody does, and you can buy it from SIG. And I can tell you from my experiences in the past, the SRT triggers are really nice. So that's what this pistol's all about. So now let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about this gun before getting it to the range. And as always, I want to talk about the positive first. The first thing I love about this gun is that it is a 226. Now this, in my opinion, is the best SIG P-Series pistol out there. It is a double stack, 9mm pistol. It's not really full size, it's not really compact, it is big, it's robust, and it has that military heritage. This is a tested gun. It has been used in police departments and militaries all around the world. I arguably say this is the most impressive and best SIG pistol that is out there. And to have the one that the Navy SEALs used, I think is just the icing on the cake on this really awesome gun. And as I mentioned, I really like the size of this pistol. It's about the size of a Glock 19. It might be a little bit thicker, and it definitely is a little bit heftier because it has an alloy frame and not a polymer frame. But for me, this is right in that sweet spot of guns when it comes to size. It just fits my hand really well. It feels like a big gun, but you can carry it like a smaller gun. I really like the fact that this version does have a chrome-lined barrel. I don't know if it's going to come across here on the camera, and this gun does need to be cleaned. I recently just got it back from the range, but I love guns with chrome-lined barrels. Some people say that is going to hurt the accuracy, and I understand why, but for me, I love chrome-lined barrels because they are so resistant to corrosion and other problems when it comes to firearms over time. Another thing about this pistol that I think is really good is the slide itself. If you don't know about the history of the SIG design, well, back in the 1980s when these guns were designed, they were actually made from folded or stamped sheet metal. I know, you're thinking, how in the world could they make a slide like this out of stamped sheet metal? Well, they did. But in the 1990s, when they modernized their manufacturing techniques, they started to make these slides out of bar stock steel and stainless steel, and that's what you have here. Now, I will say the older ones, of course, are more collectible, the ones made in West Germany, but these slides today, I think, are way better and made by using a much better process. I really think that they are going to be more durable and long-lasting going into the future. And the last thing about this gun that I really like is the addition of the SRT trigger. I'm telling you, the stock triggers on these kind of have a really long reset. And if you're trying to shoot these guns fast or in competition, I think it can kind of slow you down. Personally, I like short resets, and then right after the reset, you're back at the wall, and that's just what I like, and that's what this trigger provides. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera, and I'm going to get out the Lineman trigger pull weight gauge, and I want to measure what this SRT trigger is pulling at. And I think that would be good data in case this is a type of upgrade that you are thinking about doing to your SIG pistol. So let me go ahead and adjust the camera, and let's get the data on this trigger. So let's check out this SRT trigger in this Sig P226 Mk25. As always, I will drop the magazine first, ensure there is no ammunition in it, set that aside. Then I'll rack the slide, ensure there's no ammunition in the chamber. Looks like we are safe. I'll drop the hammer with the decocker. Let me show you this double action pull first. It is long and heavy, but it is predictable and smooth. Pretty good for a double action trigger pull. Now let me show you the single action pull. You do have a little bit of a take up. It kind of feels like a two-stage trigger. You get right to that wall and it's pretty light, very crisp. And then here is that short reset. Man, that is short and you are right back at that wall. That is awesome. All right, so let's test out this trigger. Let me get out the Lineman trigger pull weight gauge here, and thank you, Craig, once again for lending this to the channel. It means a lot to me. And let me go ahead and clear the averages here. And now let's try to test this double action pull. And normally when I do this on double action pistols, they're just too heavy to measure, but I think this one is measurable. So let me go ahead and let's try this in double action first. 9 pounds, 3.2 ounces. £8 pounds, 14.8 ounces. And I do want to rack the slide every time because if the gun was fired, it's going to cycle and you might drop the trigger on it. So that's why I want to make the trigger pull consistent here. Then 10 pounds, 7.4 ounces. These are a little bit hard to get consistent, but they are reading, so they're not off the chart. All right, so that time we had 7 pounds, 11.8 ounces. And finally we have 9 pounds, 4.1 ounces. And I know that was kind of all over the place, but double action pulls with these gauges are really hard to measure. And that would give us an average of 9 pounds, 1.9 ounces. But every trigger pull registered on the gauge, it's pretty light and very predictable. But I would say that probably is about the average pull of this, even though I got some wide variable readings on that. But now let's try this thing in single action. And let me go ahead and clear the average once again. And here we go. On single action, our first pull. 3 pounds, 15.2 ounces. Three pounds, 12.1 ounces. 3 pounds, 12.7 ounces. 3 pounds, 12.6 ounces. And finally, 3 pounds, 14.6 ounces, which gives us an average of 3 pounds, 13.4 ounces. Not too light, but not too heavy. And that is definitely on the lower end of what I would want a duty trigger to be like. So that's what this trigger is all about. So very nice, and I love the SRT trigger. So let's get back to the rest of this range report, and let's talk about a couple things about this pistol that I may not like. And as you can see, the trigger in this pistol is pretty darn good, both in double action and single action. And that reset is super short, and when I hear and feel that click, I'm right back at the wall. I like to ride the reset, and this trigger is perfect for the type of shooter that I am. I love the way this gun is set up in regards to the trigger and the way that it feels. So now let's talk about a couple things about this gun that I don't like. And the first thing I don't like about this gun, I think, is the general general complaint people have with the Sig P series pistols, and that is it has a high bore axis. When Sig designed the P220 to replace the P210, I don't think they were thinking about bore axis. They were trying to design a robust gun that was reliable, and they definitely did that. But every gun since the 225, 226, 227, 228, 229, and so forth, they've all had this high bore axis, and it's just that general complaint. It's kind of like the grip angle on Glocks. If you don't like Glocks, typically they'll say, I just don't like the grip angle, and they're the same on all the Glock pistols. Well, all of the P-Series pistols have a high bore axis, and they're going to give you a little bit more muzzle flip than, let's say, your standard Glock or Smith & Wesson M&P. The last thing I don't like about this gun is something I kind of alluded to earlier in the video, and that is going to be the inventory ID tag. I think it is a very nice touch. However, the one Sig puts on these pistols is a vinyl sticker. It's not made of metal like the ones they send to the Navy, and I really feel like they could do a better job with this. I know that when people clean these pistols, these can easily come off if oil gets underneath them. It's a very common complaint, and I would like to see them provide the same metal tags that they do to the Navy. Now, there is a solution to this if you care, or if you own the M11 pistol, which is like the more compact version of this, which also uses an ID tag. There is a company called Carolina Laser Works, and if you send all of your information about your pistol to them, they will actually make you a small metal tag that will replace this one, and it will look right, and it adheses to the gun a lot better, giving you everything that you really want if you care about the cosmetics, like I do when it comes to guns like this with military provenance. So those are the things that I like and don't like about these guns. So now let's get this thing to the range. As always, I'm going to start off by setting up the target at 7 yards. I'm going to put a magazine through this. Hopefully it's going to be just as accurate and shoot just as well as the other P226s that I have reviewed in the past. So this is a gun I've always wanted to shoot, I've always wanted to own, so hopefully it's going to live up to the hype and what I think it's going to be in my head. So here we go, let's go to the range, let's have some fun with this, and let's see how it shoots. And before talking about this gun's shootability and accuracy, I was reminded after my first 2 or 3 shots down range is, oh yeah, I have to hold this gun a little bit different. Something I've noticed on all of the P-Series pistols is that I have to do what I think is called a combat hold. Normally, when I have a 3-dot setup like you do on this gun, 2 dots in the back, 1 dot in the front, normally I just have to align those sights, get those 3 dots in a line across my vision. However, when it comes to these guns, I gotta have this front sight significantly higher than the rear sight, and this is something I've noticed on all of the Sig pistols. It's very consistent for me. Some people have said, hey, it's the way you hold the guns. I have no idea, but I have heard and read on forums that a lot of people have this issue as well, and you just have to realize and be aware of how this gun wants to be sighted in. So after about 2 rounds, I realized that, and I adjusted the sights, and the gun was very accurate for me, especially for a duty gun. Now, of course, this is not a competition or a target gun, but for a duty weapon, this gun is very accurate for me. It's also very shootable. After shooting it, I'm reminded about what I call the Sig Cadillac recoil. These guns have a great feel when they're being shot because these slides and frames are mated up so well. They have a full-length rail, and when you rack this slide, it just feels like it moves on ball bearings, and that translates to a very smooth shoot shooting experience. So the accuracy is great and the shootability is great. All right, so now I want to double the distance on this target, and I'm going to go for the head on this IDPA silhouette. I'm just curious if I'm going to be able to keep this accuracy at distance. I'm pretty sure that I am. So here we go, about 12 or 15 yards going for the head on this target, and let's just see if I discover anything else about this gun that I like or don't like, and I'll report back to you. And I pretty much have exactly the same comments as I had in the previous segment. The gun is very accurate for me, and it's very shootable, has that Cadillac recoil. I am starting to notice that muzzle flip a little bit because of the higher bore axis, but as I said, that's just to be expected on these guns. I really do feel like the alloy frame of this does mitigate that a little bit. If this was a polymer frame gun, you'd probably feel a little bit more of that muzzle flip, and it is a little bit different if you're used to shooting guns like Glocks and M&Ps, as I mentioned. But so far the gun is running great. It's doing everything that I want it to do. It has great accuracy, and I love this SRT trigger. All right, so now I really want to test the accuracy, and I'm going to set up the target now at about 20 or 25 yards at this indoor range, and I'm going to shoot this from a rest or a bench. And essentially I want to take as much of the human element out of the equation as possible. So here we go, another magazine, 20, 25 yards, and let's just see what I can do with this pistol at this range. And I will say, at my range at 25 yards, it's kind of dimly lit, and I cannot see where these rounds are impacting the target. So I just hold on the center and just go through the whole magazine and just let the chips fall where they may. And this gun is very accurate for me, especially as a duty weapon at that range. Now remember, I am not a trick shot. If you're expecting all the rounds to go through the same hole, you're not going to get that from me. But if I can get everything in that inner circle at 25 yards, I count that as a win, and this gun did not disappoint me. All right, so the next test I want to do is the hollow point test. I know a lot of people are going to buy this as a home defense pistol, and I don't blame them. If it's good enough for the Navy SEALs, it's definitely going to be good enough for you. So of course, I just want to make sure this gun is going to run hollow points. I don't know why it wouldn't, but I always think it's a valid test because I've actually discovered there are a few guns out there that don't run hollow points as well as ball ammunition. And of course, the Navy SEALs use ball ammunition. So here we go. Let's go back to the range, another magazine through this, and let's test out some hollow points. And just as expected, it ran flawlessly. In fact, all the ammunition I've put through this gun so far in this range report, it's fed perfectly fine. And I've used about 2 or 3 different makes. So ammunition is not a problem in this gun. And that is what I would expect from a military gun from SIG. All right, so the next test I want to do is the double action test. Essentially, I want to go through a whole magazine of this gun in double action only, but I will have to decock it after every shot. And the reason that I do this is you have to train with the double action trigger pull, because if you carry this gun, it's going to be in double action mode first. It's going to have a longer and heavier trigger pull, and sometimes that can throw off your first shot. So I just want to see how shootable this gun is in double action. So here we go. Let's go back to the range, and after every shot, I will decock the hammer and shoot it double action again. And as you can see, even with the longer and heavy trigger pull, the gun is very accurate. This double action pull is very predictable, and I've noticed that on all of the SIG P series pistols. I really shoot them well in double action. Where I don't shoot double action revolvers well at all, I do shoot double action SIGs very well. And this SRT trigger is just simply awesome. All right, so the next test I want to do is give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. She is definitely a different type of shooter than I am, and she likes different things about guns than I do. So I like to get her perspective. So I'm gonna open their magazine, give her a chance to shoot it, and see what she has to say about it. And overall, she really liked this pistol, but the one thing she noticed about it that she doesn't like is the muzzle flip because of the high bore axis. She was saying she was constantly having to adjust her support hand or her non-shooting hand because of it. And that's something to take note of. She has smaller hands than I do. She has weaker hands than I do, and she's not as avid of a shooter as I am. And I think if you're going to buy this gun for yourself and you fit that description, or you're going to buy this gun for somebody that fits that description, you might want to go rent it before you buy it. Just see if it works well for you. If you've shot guns like Glocks and want to try this thing out, it's definitely going to feel different. So I just wanted to point that out, that not every gun is going to fit every shooter's hand as well. Some people are going to say this is the greatest handgun of all time. You can't go wrong with it. But they don't take into consideration those other factors like hand size and strength. So try before you buy. All right, so the last test I want to do is the quick magazine change test, the point shoot test, and the mag dump test. I'm going to combine it all into three. Number one, I want to see if I can shoot this gun fast. I want to see if I can drop this magazine, get a fresh one in there, get the gun back in action as quickly as I can, and I want to see how shootable this gun is in a self-defense scenario. I know a lot of people like to think I train, and if I have to use my gun in self-defense, I'm going to line up those sights. Most likely, the adrenaline is going to be rushing, and you're just going to point the gun at the target and hope you hit it. And that's the way I want to test this gun. If I have to shoot this gun fast, is it really shootable, easy to point? Well, I guess we're going to find out. And of course, I want to have some fun with it. I want to shoot it fast. So let's go back to the range and see how it does. And all I can say is this gun fits the bill on all three of those tests. I can shoot this gun fast because of the SRT trigger. I can change this magazine out fast because it just flies out of this gun. It's easy to find that mag well, get it reinserted, get the gun back in action, and the gun is very shootable and easy to aim. This thing is just fantastic and exactly what I would want out of a gun like this. So what are my final thoughts on the Sig Sauer P226 Mk25? Well, as I stated in the opening of this video, this is my favorite variant of my favorite Sig handgun. It is simply awesome. It checks all the boxes for me. It's accurate, it's easy to shoot. It might have a high bore axis, but it has that military provenance. It's robust, it's reliable. It is pretty darn awesome. And this SRT trigger upgrade is absolute perfection. And I wish all Sig pistols came with that. So this thing overall is just fantastic. And on my star system, I'm going to give it almost a perfect review. The only things about this gun that, once again, I don't like, number one, that vinyl tag. And I know some people are going to say it's not fair to deduct a point for that because it doesn't affect the reliability or the shootability of the gun. However, because this is marketed the way it is, it kind of has a little bit of a collector's value to it. And I really feel for the price you pay, they could have done something a little bit nicer. Come on, Sig, just something a little bit nicer. It would cost you what, 25 or 30 cents? And of course, the gun has a little bit of a higher bore axis, thus giving you a little bit more of a muzzle flip that you might not be used to, but you can easily train with it and shoot it and get used to it. But if you're used to other guns with lower bore axes, it might be an issue. But on my star system, what am I going to give the Sig P226 Mk25? Well, it's going to get almost a perfect review. 4.75 stars out of 5. This thing exceeded my expectations. It's exactly what I was hoping it was going to be, and this pistol is awesome. And if anybody ever asks me what Sig pistol should I get, it really will be this gun right here. It might not have all the bells and whistles. It might not be cut for an optic. But for me, for a handgun like this, A double stack 9mm double action, single action pistol with military provenance. You cannot beat the Sig P226 Mk25. So 4.75 stars out of 5 for this really cool handgun. I absolutely love it. So thank you once again, Jack, for giving me the opportunity to review it. So what do you guys think? What do you think of the Mk25? I know most of you like the P226, but is this your favorite variant like it is mine? Let me know in the comment section below. So, as always, thanks for watching. So now I want to double the distance on this target. I'm going to go for the head on the... God damn it, I get to there and I can't do it. Just like any gun that I would expect... The point shoot test and just the mag dump test.